So my name's Fred Betley, and I'm the managing director at Future Tracker. And as a company, we support organizations in managing their sustainability. And as I'll demonstrate throughout the presentation, sustainability is a very complex and undefined area. And so our main approach to engaging with sustainability is through this process of transition management and helping organizations to understand themselves, their needs, the materiality of what surrounds them, and how to then move forward with sustainability in mind. And as an organization that has developed and is developing a sustainability platform, our understanding of how technology meets sustainability and the ways in which it can be utilized for great benefit, as well as some of its limitations, is quite familiar to me now. So when we dive into this, I'll be starting by talking about sustainability in a very wide sense, but primarily as we go forward, I'll be speaking about sustainability from the organizational sustainability perspective. So let's dive in. Just to give you a quick overview of what I'll be covering. Sorry, I didn't know why there's a question mark there, but I'll be demystifying sustainability to start with. As I said, it's extremely broad, and it's only really being defined in the business and organizational and financial and regulatory spaces really within the last 5 years. And I think there's still a long way to go before we can really feel like there's a strong foundation to what it means to practice sustainability in the corporate space. And then I'll be talking about generally the ways to achieve sustainability and to approach it, and really the ethos behind engaging with sustainability at its foundation. And then we will look into technology and sustainability, how it can enable sustainable progress, and then also ultimately how we utilize sustainability, how it's appropriate, and also what its limitations are. So to start with, the very sort of the most common definition for sustainability, or sustainable development in this case, comes from the Brundtland Report. So this was back in the late 80s, when the United Nations was preparing to essentially unveil the idea of sustainable development as a global issue and a global principle. And the main things to focus on here are what I've put in bold: the present and the future. And ultimately, sustainable development in this definition is meeting the needs of the present without compromising future generations to be able to meet their own needs. And this combination of thinking about the present as well as thinking about the future is a really important consideration to continue to have while engaging with sustainability, because sustainability is about continuous practice, continuous change, and a vision on the future that we want to try and create together. So that combination of present and future is really a fundamental part of what sustainability is. So it requires a few things to be able to engage with it properly. And one thing is the responsibility and the understanding that we are in an interconnected world. Every business has a supply chain. We are all connected to each other in some way, and we're part of a global system. And so as we are part of that global system, no matter what part we play, the whole system has a responsibility to change, and we are a part of that system. So that's I really think something that needs to be reiterated is that there is responsibility for all of us, but how we decide to move forward is based on what is relevant to us and what we have the power to change. Then this requires a vision and a mission. So for businesses, that's very clear. Individuals and governments, that can be a more complicated thing. But as sustainability encompasses the present and the future, it's very important that we have an understanding of what we want to try and achieve, and what kind of a world do we want to be able to build together, or what kind of an organization do we want to build um, as business people. And in order to be able to achieve that vision and be able to practice sustainability, we need to understand how to prioritize the many different aspects of our business lives that are in competition with each other. And that requires planning, and it requires active prioritization. And this is something that is practiced outside of sustainability, but is really essential for being able to effectively move in that direction. We need to be able to plan the best way forward if we're going to move into the future that we want to see. And then this requires action and execution. Sustainability now has become synonymous with reporting and with regulatory compliance, and it's absolutely necessary as part of the process. But without further action in improving and executing on those plans, then it cannot really achieve the goals that we're setting out to achieve. So sustainability in the broadest way, when we think about it from a global perspective, has three core pillars: environmental, economic, and social. And these are the three main areas in which our society as humanity creates impacts, impacts us as people, impacts the environment, and so on. And so to engage with sustainability holistically, it requires appreciation and understanding for all of those areas. And from an organizational perspective, each one of these areas, environmental, social, and economic, also then have their comprising elements. Obviously, climate change is a massive part of environmental, and governance is a massive part of the economic aspect of the way that we see sustainability in the corporate space. But there's many other areas. And so when I was speaking about prioritization before, it's very clear that we have all of these areas of sustainability that, or areas of potential impact, areas of potential opportunity that as organizations we need to try and understand how to get the best out of that, how to understand the potential risks. And there's a lot there. So prioritization, time management, and transition management is a really essential part of engaging with sustainability in that way. There's also many different types of sustainability, or many different elements of the sustainability sector more broadly. No doubt by this point you should have heard of the SDGs. That stands for the Sustainable Development Goals, and it's a United Nations. What's the word? Initiative that is designed as at a global governance level. So it has 17 different goals, all focused on different areas of sustainability that cross the environmental, economic, and social lines. But for businesses, it can be helpful, but it's really designed at a global governance level. And as you'll see here, as we go across the different areas of the sustainability sectors, we can see that they have their benefits, and they have their sort of target audience, but no one area is representative entirely of sustainability. Then obviously we have ESG, which has also sort of become synonymous with sustainability in recent years. But it really is a form of investment principles and trying to keep sustainability as part of those principles. But as you could see before, governance is not the only element of economic sustainability. And so although this is a very helpful way of us being able to embed sustainability into our investments, it still requires a wider appreciation for sustainability in other areas. We then have the UN Global Compact. We have sustainability regulations that you may be increasingly familiar with now. We have companies like the GRI that specialize in reporting and metrics for sustainability. We then have carbon management platforms, Future Tracker being a carbon management platform, among other things, as well as many other organizations that focus on carbon management. Sustainability consultancy, sustainability certifications to be able to prove a certain level of sustainability practices. And then we have environmental health and safety and facilities management organizations that also now focus on sustainability, as well as transition management, which I spoke about earlier, is a field that Future Tracker specializes in, and the process of trying to encompass the broad range of what sustainability is, but building a plan forward and ensuring that that can be acted upon. So what does it really take to achieve sustainability? So the adage of it being a journey, not the destination, is really the main principle to this, is that sustainability needs to be practiced, and it can't be achieved definitively. There's no such thing as an organization achieving sustainability or being sustainable necessarily, but there is such a thing as an organization practicing sustainability. And so that really can put us in the mindset of it being something that is a continuous thing and something that we engage with constantly. Then, as we spoke about before, this acceptance of the responsibility that we have and that we are in an interconnected world, that's essential. We need to be able to understand and appreciate our responsibility before we can really take that responsibility and start acting sustainably as organizations or as individuals. And then understanding where we are as an organization is crucial to be able to understand the best steps forward and to be able to build out that transition plan. So by understanding the materiality of the world around us and what is most relevant to us, what impacts are closest to home, what risks are coming down the line, and what opportunities are there out there to seize on, and then the impacts, either actual or potential impacts. And if we can understand that from an organization's point of view or from the point of our investments, then it becomes much clearer. The path forward becomes a lot clearer. And then at this point, this allows us to then produce transition plans. And one of the most active areas of sustainability right now is net zero and climate change. And so the need for transition plans when we're focusing on climate sustainability is essential. So we hear about the net zero targets and our need to build a path towards net zero. But really that path, that's just one strand of a wider path of sustainability and the actions that an organization should be taking to be conscious of these things, but also achieve wider success on that journey as well. And then really crucially, as a final point here, is the need to make change. And as I spoke before, it's really essential that we do the plans, we do the reporting, we do the compliance, but then we actually do the change on top of that. And that is the hardest thing and the least natural thing for most organizations, is to be focused on change and adaptability. Usually when we're focused around trying to achieve and provide the products and services that we're used to providing. So change is certainly the hardest thing. And it's something that we can then utilize technology to support us with. And just to give you a very sort of nice visual overview of what that looks like in practicing and acting sustainably, is the understanding. So all of the ways that we can understand our impact, what to do next, and what is relevant to us. Then there's the planning. So taking what we understand and then seeing what kind of a journey we can create for ourselves. And then the change, which is acting on that plan. and learning from that plan and growing from that plan as well. And on this final bit of this sort of sustainability overview, just gives you an idea of what sustainability could look like for an organization, or an organization indeed that you're invested in. So sustainability is a very broad thing, and it can be broken down into these categories that we've seen here. So the prioritization of these tasks is required, but we can't prioritize those things without understanding the materiality and the impact. So we do these actions as an organization, and then we try to understand what data requirements there are attached to that. What are the true impacts associated with our actions? What policies can we create, and processes for us to act and change the direction of the organization in that way? What other strategies are there involved? What commitments can be made? And then what initiatives can be done internally or externally to help improve those things? And we can kind of see that as a roadmap. Hopefully that's a helpful way of visualizing what is a very, very complex and almost an unnatural thing to be doing as an organization, and really what that process can look like. And I think it's really important to reiterate here that this can also help achieve wider successes at an organizational level, whether it's improving brand image, or even increasing profitability. All of those things require efficiency improvements. They require understanding, and they require a better utilization of your resources. And sustainability at its essence is really just the practice of understanding what resources you have, what risks you have to overcome, and practicing that. So it can really be used as a great tool to achieve all of the things that an organization wants to achieve. So when it comes to technology in sustainability, there is a very, very broad range of technological areas. So resource efficiency and decarbonization being quite a large focus. So from clean technology and renewable energy, or generally low carbon improvements, to wider areas of services like data centers, and the efficiency improvements of those, as well as then metering and monitoring of processes and energy usage to ensure that we know what to do with that. And then when it comes to the organizational layer, there's then time efficiency and automation, and how we can utilize technology in order to make us improve faster or have a better vision of what we're trying to deal with. So within the organizations that you work at, you may be using project or task management platforms, and that is utilizing technology to make to achieve your outputs in a more efficient way. Or you can utilize process automation, so automating digital processes that you do day in, day out, to ensure that that time can then be spent elsewhere. And now, as with ChatGPT and other generative AI tools, we can now use artificial intelligence to produce and generate content for us, that we can then edit and move forward with. So time efficiency and automation is a massive part of not only sustainability, but the technological advances that we feel across the economy. Then, particularly for sustainability, data management and data connection have been really important technological changes that we've seen over the last 10 years. So you may have seen all of the different types of carbon management platforms or resource management platforms. Areas where an organization can effectively manage all of the data and information that is connected to them to then effectively make decisions, or API and data sharing and all of the technology associated with measuring more data, connecting that data between organizations, and doing that in a way in which there is greater access and visibility to information. And then, of course, the upskilling and incentivization. So utilizing technology to be able to effectively change things. So learning management systems are a great way for employees and organizations to be able to increase their capacity to do things and increase their knowledge. And then gamification is a way in which we utilize technology and user experience and user interfaces to improve the efficiency of somebody engaging with a platform or a piece of technology. And so across all of these things, that there are some very common themes. A lot of it is to do with improving our ability to do processes that aren't necessarily technological. So although our services and goods that we may provide as an organization, however we utilize technology, technological innovation can help us do that more efficiently. And for sustainability, because it's such a broad space and an area where we are continuously needing to change and improve and understand ourselves, efficiency in doing day-to-day tasks, but efficiency in understanding where we are, efficiency in reducing our carbon emissions or understanding our emissions, or indeed technology to help us learn and improve and change processes, are all crucial for sustainability. So it's really important, though, to appreciate that technology cannot solve everything, and that technological improvements can help with efficiency, but can't necessarily solve problems in and of themselves. So the first point I want to highlight there is that technology is not a silver bullet, and that it's not necessarily a solution, but it's a tool that we can really effectively use if we're prepared to use it, and we have the processes that it can sit on top of. So the extent of positive impact and how we utilize technology is how we decide to use it. And I talked previously about the need for a vision and a mission as an organization. And if we are aimless as an organization, then our utilization of technology will not necessarily help us move forward in the way that we want to. And so if we want to be more efficient in a particular area, or if we need to save time, if we need to be able to expand in whatever way, then we need to know what technology is most appropriate and how we can then implement that. And also the processes of people and the practices of our people as an organization, how those things need to change in order to accept that technology being integrated. So, and that kind of brings me on to the third point here. People using technology need to have the right intentions. And so the technology needs to sit on top of the organization, which is a group of people. And the group of people need to work cohesively together and utilize technology to improve that cohesion in order to then utilize technology further to improve efficiencies. So ultimately the bottom line is the quality really depends on how we decide to utilize it and the planning that goes into the utilization of that. And I'll show you this through a case study. So, for example, if an organization wants to utilize technology, so we have data connection and API sharing. So if you're an organization that needs to have access to data from a supplier in order to be able to inform your decisions better, and you also then want to automate certain processes, be it communications, be it scraping new pieces of information that come into your HR platform or your energy and resource platform, and then utilizing generative AI to either produce policies or to create content for marketing. All of these technologies you want to be able to utilize in order to make your sustainability more efficient. And say, as an organization, when you're engaging with sustainability, you want to, for example, work towards the UN Global Compact, which is 12 key areas of responsibility that an organization should practice and improve upon. Or the SDGs, which are the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, or some GRI reporting metrics. So you know that you want to be able to utilize technology in order to achieve some of those sustainability areas that you're focusing on as an organization. And it's crucial that the more that we can effectively utilize technology, the more easily we can achieve these sustainability goals. But really, the problem is the integration of that technology and the understanding of is this the technology that we need right now? And how do we prioritize the implementation of that technology? Because there's lots of non-tech requirements that have to go alongside the implementation of this technology in order for it to be useful in the first place. So, for example, if you want to be able to access information from your suppliers, or if you want to be able to provide data to another platform or another organization, that the way in which data is collected and processed as an organization requires the people that are collecting that information or managing it to do it in a certain way, and do it in a way in which the API can recognize that information. Or if you're automating and designing a process in which your communications might be automated, then you need to be able to understand what it is that you're trying to communicate, and all of the work that goes behind really appreciating what it is that you're trying to achieve with that. As I said, the missions and values is really important for an organization to be able to effectively move forward and have a direction to go to. And that can't really be done with technology. That is something that has to be about what is it that the people want to try and achieve within the organization. And that moves forward into the company strategy sessions, workshops and presentations, sharing of information and ideas. All of those things need to happen in order to be able to have the best route forward and to be able to understand what technology that you need. And then understanding the materiality and impacts of what you have as an organization. You can certainly use technology for that, but in order to collect that information, in order to either get given advice by consultants, all of that information is often provided by people for people. So a lot of these processes that sit behind technological innovations in sustainability have to be done by individuals. And it comes back to that point that I was highlighting earlier, is that the need for action and the need for us to actively engage with sustainability. And it goes to show that there's no one platform that an organization can buy that will improve their sustainability without the need for there to be change in the people and processes within an organization. So that's a really crucial thing to understand. And what I'm trying to get across in this case study is that technology is essential for improving efficiencies, connecting to information. The use of generative AI is going to completely change the way that we create content and the way that we share information. But there needs to be the intention behind that, and there needs to be that vision that's pulling us forward so that we can utilize it most effectively. So if we think about the ethos that we need a company to change, if we are indeed as a global interconnected society and economy, if that needs to change, then each individual part also needs to change. And if companies need to change, and companies are made of people, then those people need support to change. And that help to change people, we can also help, we can also use technology to help us with that. So when it comes to achieving sustainability, as we spoke about before, we need to understand the materiality and the impacts that our organization is creating, what data we need to understand those things, the policies, the strategy, the actual action and initiatives. And once we understand those things, we can then effectively choose the technology that is appropriate for us at that time. And then by utilizing that technology, it can help us more efficiently achieve the transition plan that we've set out for ourselves to achieve the vision and mission that we have decided on as an organization. And that is what ultimately creates the success that we want to see as an organization. So technology is a crucial part of this, and it will continue to be. And we need to continue to make innovations to make these very unnatural processes of changing an organization or an organization being flexible to adaptation. Technology can help that happen, but it needs to be effectively diagnosed and it needs to be effectively applied to the right spaces. So every organization will have different needs and will need to utilize technology differently. And I think that's something that one of the most important things I want to get across is that technology is fantastic for sustainability, but depending on where you are on the journey and depending on how organized the people are in the organization and how ready they are to implement technology at a certain level, it needs to be considered before technology is really utilized. So some conclusions on what I've been saying, that there is technology that is appropriate for each level of maturity. So some organizations may be able to utilize really complex combinations of technology that automate many different processes and forego the need for employees to be doing certain pieces of work. But before you can do that, there are many other processes that need to be in place. The way in which data is codified and stored is what will allow us to then build those automation processes. So if we don't have that, then we can't utilize certain technologies to help improve our efficiencies. So for most organizations, the best place to start for utilizing technology to improve efficiency is normally to do project or task management, or indeed CRMs, and utilizing those basic platforms to help us just visualize what's going on and be able to see those processes. And then as we understand them better and understand how our processes need to be in place in order to engage with wider technological development, then we can move forward with that. So, but this requires prioritizing the people and the organizational improvements. So how is it the best way for us to be able to improve our efficiency as an organization is to understand the roles that people play in the organization. Is that most effectively placed? And are the organizational processes effective enough to be able to engage with a world where regulation and investors and stakeholders are going to expect you to change far more than you have been expected to in the past? And those processes and people need to be set up in the right way in order to be able to engage with change. And then that's when we can then utilize technology on top of that to make the most effective change. So technology, is what I've just said. Technology is only good as it's only as good as the processes that it sits on top of. So coming back to the core principles of sustainability, the best way for us to build those processes and move forward as a group of people in an organization is to understand the situation that we're in, the limitations that we have, the impacts that we have, and the regulation that is coming down the line, then plan to how we can start to improve those things with the resources that we have and the limited time that we have to make those changes. And then actively trying to change. Even if you make tiny incremental improvements over time, that the compounding effect of that is far greater than just continuously entering this reporting cycle of this is our data, this is our impact, and not making improvements on top of that. And then finally, to get excited about this, it may seem very daunting that there is so much that is to be expected of an organization. But in reality, when we engage with this core underlying process of understanding, planning, and changing, it allows us to achieve the things that we want to achieve with the organization. And by creating increased flexibility and increased momentum, we can achieve not just the sustainability ambitions that we have, but the other ambitions that we have as an organization. And they're all part of that sustainability story. So I think it's really important not to get overwhelmed by this, because your journey is what you create it to be. And it really is a step-by-step journey. So the plan, understand, and change, it's a really important process. And so long as that can be an annual process, then you're already on the right way to be able to have that flexibility and achieve sustainability and get all of the positive outcomes that come from that. So thank you very much for that. Very happy to receive questions.